Now, if your players are murder hobos because they're bored,
That's a
your
good
fault.
point. It's
If your
actually a good
players,
point because I never thought about that, but I could see, and I've seen that happen. Actually, people get bored because maybe they'd like maybe the tactician, right? The
he's
strategist, the
bored.
tactician, and he's in a
Yeah, if
role
you're
playing area, and he's just bored, so he's
he's
just going to do
bored. Give him
something.
something to do.
Yeah,
So like when your players are, say you got 3 thieves and a fighter and a cleric. I've had that table,
yeah,
right? Let's say you got a majority rogues and they're planning a heist, and they're, let's say you're using alignment and they're lawful evil, and it doesn't matter, any old version of evil.
yeah,
And your cleric is your stereotypical, paladin, holy sword, lawful good, magic powers, blah blah. He's gonna have a problem with every last little bit of this. So you're gonna, for 2 reasons, you're gonna give him something else to do. One, so he doesn't continually argue with the other players, which would be in character, so it's probably okay. But it's one of those things you still don't really want to deal with for 3 hours. So give him something else to chew on. So he's
yeah,
not doing that, and so he's not bored. The fighter does not do well in social situations, in a stereotypical example. Give him
yes,
something else to do. Let the rogue go off and case the place while the fighter goes to the bar and beats somebody up and gets information. Like, hey, look, go over there, fight on purpose with an objective.
yes,
Like, march into the space, find the biggest guy in there, and clobber him over the head. If
yeah,
your players are murder hobos because they're bored, fix it. If your
yeah,
players are murder hobos because they're inherently chaotic and they want to destabilize you because they think that's fun, talk to them once if you're real generous, and after that, don't play with them anymore.
yeah. I
If
mean, I've
they're
actually
murder
seen
hobo, right?
I've
Go ahead.
seen running evil. I mean, I know some people don't like to do this, and it can get out of hand. But there are evil campaigns, and it's like, what's
Yeah.
the degree? I mean, rogues being evil is one thing, where you're just robbing people. But then it's like, do you want to run people running around murder everybody? Not really. As a
Right,
DM,
right.
that's usually not that much fun.
Are you the Joker or are you Robin Hood? Right.
Yeah.
Um, if they're murder hobos because, well, because they're essentially testing you and you're playing an us versus them style table, which again isn't wrong. It's just a different way of doing things. I have friends who come to the table every Thursday, Friday, um, who, other than my table, their other tables they go to are us versus them, and that was the point, and everybody knew it when they came.
Yep.
They plan on, Shane attempting to murder them, like, and
Yes.
that's, they expect it, and they're going
Yeah.
to outplay him. If you have
Yes.
that kind of table, then murder hobos don't, strictly speaking, punish the player character, but have a realistic legal system in place.
Mm.
I
Well,
don't care if
yeah. That's
people have
also
free.
that
Go
is a
ahead.
good point because I mean, usually with new people, you're not trying to kill them off, but experienced people want more realism, and they
Right,
expect
right,
you to do
right.
that. So it
Like,
depends on
it
who your
makes
table
sense
is.
that any given situation where that has people in it has some sense of order. There's
Yes.
no such thing as true anarchy. There never has been. There never will be. There are countries and locations that don't have a standing government, but they
Hmm.
do have some degree of, yeah, you really shouldn't do that.
Some kind
And
of
and
law.
you should, right. You should be concrete with that. Like, I don't care if it's as simple as anything against the state is worthy of beheading. Okay, that's an awfully severe state you live in,
Yeah.
but I can work with that. It, and if you have people, if there are laws, then there are people that enforce those laws. If your players want to steal everything in the weapon shop, I mean, let them, give them the agency, but make them work for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if they roll, 20s every time, fine.
yeah, yeah, and if, like, how do I prevent my players from killing everybody in the town? You don't. Just treat them like the adults they are.
Yep.
If it's a world with magic where you can res people from the dead after they've been dead in another dimension for 50 years, there is zero chance, if somebody really cares, that your players are going to get away with that completely unnoticed.
Yep. All right. And then the next question, I'll just do a couple of these here,
Sure,
probably like
yeah.
3 of them. But
Sure.
what's the best way to make sure all players are being heard and having fun?
Fun is let's tackle the last half of that question first because it's the hardest. Fun is subjective. Um, I have a friend of mine on my, let's see, that's a Monday table. I'll have to check my notes. I have too many. But he's a, how do I say this? He is a simulationist. He does not understand how he has fun at the table that I host. Neither do I. When we went into it, I was pretty sure he was going to come up to me the week after and be like, nope, bad plan. And we weren't going to take it personally because I'm a drama guy and he's a realism guy, and they don't necessarily live in the same house.
Mm.
So he gets bored fairly fast. He gets bored if combat takes more than 4 turns. If combat is just stand there and we throw punches at each other until we die. Never do that. Never. You
Yep.
have your monsters use tactics. Goblins don't fight during the daytime ever. Dragons never roll ones or go far from their lair ever. Like they don't do that. That doesn't make sense because every living thing will fight and exist towards its strengths, because if they didn't, some other living thing would have wiped them out by now.
Yes.
So if your players, you need to figure out what your player wants. If like my Sunday table, I have one guy who views the table as a never-ending series of mini games. This social encounter is one thing. It's going to get me a building block to the big thing. Like an anime, you're going to get a piece every now and again. When you're done, there's a big arc at the end. The big final, this is it. And then we start all over again. The only thing I have to do to make sure he's having fun is make sure that those pieces fall out on a fairly regular basis every 3 sit-downs or so. And the ending has to not suck. Like he has to like it.
Yeah.
Whereas one guy likes to kill things. We run a 6-hour table on Sunday. If he doesn't get to kill something every hour or so, he'll be bored.
Yeah.
Well, he'll be good about it and compromise for everybody else, because that's 6 major fights in 6 hours. The other guys aren't going to go for that. And one of the other players is a deep drama. Like he'll just talk about everything. He doesn't care if we roll dice at all for months. He just wants to role play out every little thing, which is great. So how you make sure they have fun is first you figure out, like, and don't ask. I mean, you can ask them what they like, but not every player has bothered to get to know themselves. Introspection is hard.
Yep.
I'm 31 and I just figured out that I like my video games stupid easy. I've been playing all of my video games on big boy mode since I was a kid. The other day I finished Chrono Trigger. I was about 3/4 of the way through it. I got sick of playing it. And yeah, I'm gonna lose a bunch of friends there. I don't like Chrono Trigger. I turned the difficulty setting down to gimme mode because I have a cheat engine for that. And I barreled through the end of it. I loved it. I was like, wait a second. Apparently I don't like grinding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've played more JRPGs than I can count, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So not every player knows themselves. So sometimes you ask a player, you say, hey, what do you like? And they'll tell you, and it will be the truth. And other times you'll ask a player and they'll tell you, and they'll be wrong.
Yep.
Like said player, I asked him what he liked, and he said combat. Upon further analysis, he's wrong. What he actually likes is to be able to do the big dumb Rambo thing every hour or so. Because he doesn't say, hey guys, remember when I killed those 50 goblins? He says, hey guys, remember when I took a flying leap off the mountain onto that ogre's head? He cares about the big stupid moment. This is a stupid plan, but it'll make a great story moment.
Exactly. So, and a lot of it is having things different. Like if you just do nothing but combat, it gets boring. If you do nothing but role play, it can get boring. So you got to have variation. And
if you have a table with 4 of that guy though, then you need to make sure that they have a never-ending supply of this is going to make a great story to go around. If I had the four of the third guy, then we would have probably no combat with actual dice. He would just socially maneuver his way to every solution.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think if I was going to boil that all the way down, figure out what they like, and you're going to do that 2 ways. You're going to talk to them, and then you're going to watch them. And when their eyes light up, do more of that. Do more of that. Look at them every 10 seconds. Reassess whether or not their eyes are lighting up. If they're not, shift. If that fight's taking too long and they look bored, it stops on the next roll. I don't care how many hit points that guy had left. They don't know. It doesn't matter. That bad guy's dead now.
Yep.
If it's boring, move on.
Yep. That makes sense.
And I play for them, not for me.
Yep.
If they want deep, creepy horror, sold. If they want, Star Trek, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't really do is romance at the table, because it always sounds cheesy when it comes out of my mouth, and it doesn't. I'm not good at it. No one's gonna have.
I'm in the same camp. Like if you ever read